Hello, Martha Ramos. How are you doing today? And welcome to your small business podcast.
Hey, Janice. Thank you for having me. It is an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me say that one more time. Martha Ramos.
Ramos.
I can't ever roll my R's like that.
I
Gr-
know it's a Latin thing,
Oh, Ramos. Yeah, I can't. I love that. I love
but
it.
you did pretty good right there. So
Oh,
I'm gonna give
thank
you
you.
kudos for that.
I'm going to keep practicing. Thank you so much and welcome to the show. First, let's get this introduction out the way. Tell us who you are, what you do, and how has your entrepreneur journey got you right where you are today?
Wow, I know that you as an entrepreneur can relate because it's been an emotional roller coaster being on this entrepreneurial journey. But I am
Mhm.
Marta Ramos, a Dominican American former advertising executive who decided to become a life coach and business mentor for women of color by helping them, to cultivate, elevate, and own what I like to say the CEO method of living a life on their terms, because I know it's possible. So it's, especially helping women in corporate reimagine what else is possible for them.
Mhm.
Um, because I remember sitting there and saying to myself, like, there were days that I'm like, this can't possibly be my life. Is this really how I'm going to spend the rest of my life in my career, working 10, 12, 13 hours a day
Mm.
until I retire? And I'm like, there has got to be another way to live. And that kind of pushed me after 12 plus years in the advertising industry. It kind of pushed me to reevaluate how I wanted to live my life and how can I take my skills and my education and my experience and really start maximizing my potential, because I knew I had so much more to offer than
Mhm.
just flowcharts and RFPs and PowerPoints and client presentations. And I'm like, there's got to be more out there for me. So I had to kind of figure that out. And it wasn't until I was let go from my last position, and I'm very transparent about it, that
Mhm.
it made me like really sit there and think, okay, you have a bachelor's, a master's, you've done media, you've done marketing, you've done PR. You love talking to people. Like, what else is out there for you? So I started going on a self discovery journey
Wow.
and, really asking myself these deep questions like, who am I at the end of the day? Because somehow I lost sight of who she was in corporate.
Mhm.
My whole identity was centered around my title, my salary, my status. And when I lost that, I felt like I lost myself and like I wasn't worthy enough. And I really needed to tap right back into who I was at the core and
Mhm.
remind myself that I am worthy because I exist. I am smart. I am capable. I have a master's from NYU that, as a Latina, it's very far few of us who can say that they have that. So what else can I do? And I started journaling and meditating and taking some online courses. And of course, Oprah has always been a huge inspiration for me. So that led me to say, you know what? If I can get paid to talk and share my wisdom and my tools with other women and other women of color that I know are in corporate, probably feeling the same way I am, that they have so much more to offer, that there has got to be another way to live, then
Mhm.
I want to talk to those women.
Wow, that's an amazing journey because it's like you, with your corporate position, there's so many people who would love that. And then with you finding your passion and figuring out who you want to serve, what you want to do, that's a whole nother position people would love to be in. So it's like you had two journeys that are amazing, just amazing.
Thank you,
Um,
Janice.
yes, definitely, definitely. So when you went through that journey of figuring out what did you know, what you wanted to do, how did you how did you stay motivated through that journey to keep pursuing that? You know, a lot of people can't find that passion and they
Yeah.
just give up and they're just like, forget it, I'm going to stay at this job and retire and just be done with it. But what made you just say, I'm going to figure out what it is and I'm going to keep going?
So I always talk about vision. When you have a big, powerful vision, and I'm not talking about small goals. I'm not talking about, I have a goal to land my next client or my next job or to, level up my salary if you're still in corporate. Like I'm talking about a big vision of how you want to live your life.
Hmm.
What does that day to day look like? Who do you want to be surrounded by? What do you want to be known for? What are you meant to, like, who are you meant to be in this world? And I know that God created, and I'm not saying just God, like, let's say higher power, universe, whatever people choose to believe in,
Mm-hmm.
they created you for a reason. So, what's that reason?
Hmm.
And make that part of your overall vision. And that's what keeps pushing me towards my goals, right? It's because I already have a vision of how I want to live my life.
Wow.
So I always say, create a vision for yourself of who you are meant to be, who you are at the core, what do you like, what don't you like, how do you want to live your life, and
Mm-hmm.
and make it so my not minute, but make it so detailed that you know what type of house you want to live in, what type of car you want to drive, what type of neighborhood you want to live in. Do you want to travel the world? Like just be so specific and then hold on to that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because you always say you first got to know where you're going. If you
Yes.
don't know where you're going, then how you gonna get there?
And to add to that, you don't necessarily need to see the entire road or path ahead of you.
Hmm.
You just need to know that you have that vision that you're aiming towards, and that somehow, whatever you choose to believe in, it's going to help you conspire to get there, like co create that vision for you.
Hmm. Like, what is the end picture? What's the end goal? What is that end? Once you get through that journey, what is that big picture
Yes.
that you are trying to get to? Yes, that is how you figure it out. Because I think a lot of people don't sit there and take their time to figure out. They're just like, oh, I just want a business. I want to have some money and a nice house. It's like you said, be more specific. You know, what kind of house? What kind? Where you want to live? The neighborhood, and it really helps when you need that motivation to go
Yeah.
back and look at that and say, this is where I want to live. This is the kind of house. This is the who I want to help. This is who I want to inspire, and that will help you keep going.
Absolutely. And even if you're like in a corporate career, right? Like in a corporate setting, what is the vision that you see for yourself in that environment? Because I know that not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. I get it.
Hmm.
Nor does everyone have the guts or audacity to be
Yeah.
an entrepreneur because there's
Yeah.
a lot of ups and downs. But what is that vision that you see for yourself? And
Mm.
then take it from there. Like, do you want to be CEO of, the industry you're in, or do you want to change industries altogether?
Right.
Just what is that vision for yourself?
Exactly. That's the first step. Create that vision. When you started on this journey and knew exactly the big picture and what you were going towards, did you come across any, I say negative Nancy's, any naysayers? Because it's like part of being. It's just part of our entrepreneur journey. You're going to run into family members or friends or coworkers or whoever that's going to say, I think you should just stay at your corporate job, or I don't know why you want to do that. So, did you run into anyone? What did they say, and what did you do when they came to you with that?
Listen, I've been on this journey, I want to say for 5 years now, and I still have naysayers. Like my parents still don't understand what I'm
Oh,
trying to achieve. And I remember specifically one of my girlfriends that I've known since high school. And I will never forget the conversation where she said to me, how does one wake up one day and throw her entire education and career out the window to become an entrepreneur? And that hurt me so
Yeah.
deeply because I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't know, but I know that I did not want to stay in an environment where A, I was being overworked,
Mm-hmm.
undervalued, unappreciated, and it was like unhappy as fuck. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I can curse, but
Oh, go ahead. Yes, express
like
yourself.
I was just so unhappy and I'm like I do not want to live my life like this. Like I know that there's another way of living and creating money and generating income that does not require me to sell my soul to the devil, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought my happiness trumps and not just my happiness but my peace of mind and my emotional and mental health has no price tag.
Yes. Yes. I think that hurt my heart too when I heard you repeat the words that she said to you. That does hurt. And it's like, I don't know, people, when it comes to taking that big leap
Hmm.
versus convenience, a lot of people say with that convenience, even though it's sucking your soul and you're not happy, it's like, what? I get paid. I got
Yes.
insurance. This is convenient for my life. I think that's one thing that's really scary for a lot of people who want to be an entrepreneur is that first jump, that first leap to get out of that convenient mood or mode or whatever. That's
It's that,
scary.
yeah, it's that comfort zone, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand like our families and I don't know your upbringing, but I know
Mm-hmm.
that growing up as a Latina, like we're taught to go to school, work really, really hard,
Mm-hmm.
and climb up whatever ladder you choose to climb up in whatever industry. So a lot of times, a lot of us don't know what else is possible for us.
Right.
And because our families and our parents, especially our parents, mine are immigrants here in this country, and actually so am I because I was born in Dominican Republic, but I came here when I was a year old. Um, they want to keep you safe, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they want to keep you in a space where you're safe and you're not really taking these big challenges. And that requires a shift in your mindset for you to finally decide, you know what? Forget about staying in my comfort zone. Let me take this leap into whatever you choose to decide. And I know it's scary as shit, and a lot of people don't feel comfortable with change, but I am one of those person that can tell you that change is phenomenal. Like you
Yeah.
grow when you're going through certain changes in your life or your career or your relationship is all meant to help you grow as an individual. This is why personal development for me is so key in my entrepreneurial journey because it's helped me grow not just as a person but as a business owner and as a career woman.
Yes, definitely. I think that's one of the aspects I love about entrepreneurship is that self-development. Because you cannot be a true entrepreneur if you don't work on your mental and your health.
Mm,
Because you're not gonna make it at all if you do not. Because it is
yes.
a, like you said, it's a roller coaster ride that, whoo.
Listen, I'm gonna keep it real with your audience. I was just having a moment a couple of days ago and I was crying and like, oh my God, God, if you put this dream inside of me, how come I'm still not where I need to be, right? Like, how
Mhm.
come I still haven't been able to reach that flow, that momentum in my business? But a lot of times I have to kind of take a step back and say, you know what? It's on his time.
Yeah, that's true. I try to keep in mind, like I say to myself, well, it's already done. You just got to keep
Yes.
doing the work. It's already done. You'll get there.
I love that.
Yes, yes, yes. That mentality. Whoa. Um, Taking control, and living your life in your terms is what you call cultivate, elevate, and own. Let's go over each one and how we can apply that to our lives because I love that. Cultivate, elevate, and own. So let's start with cultivate.
So I'm going to tell you that. my whole brand is centered about around helping you to become the CEO of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is twofold. I need to see more women become the chief empowered officer, aka the CEO of their life,
Yes.
but also the CEO in their own small business, right? To start creating that economic empowerment shift that we all need, especially as women of color. And there's a method to that. And Cultivate, Elevate, and Own has a lot to do with how I've lived my life and how I've been able to climb up the corporate ladders and land all of my dream jobs and get to sit next to Oprah or walk red carpets. And what I did was I kind of had to take a step back and sit down and really figure out the steps that helped me achieve all of my long-term vision and goals.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with cultivate. Cultivate for me is cultivating a strong sense of self or an identity,
Yeah.
right? And it starts with knowing who you are at the core. And it's like tapping into that inner CEO, that inner badass that I know lives underneath whatever society tells you that who you need to be. So it's like creating an identity for yourself by knowing who you are at the core and who do you want to become,
Right. Okay.
right? And then part of that is also cultivating your strengths, your skills, your values, and living accordingly,
Yes.
right? For
Definitely.
me, I'll give you an example. One of my core values is autonomy, which is freedom and independence. I knew that working in corporate America for someone else was not going to give me the time or financial freedom that I was seeking.
Mm-hmm.
So, was I really living up to my or living according to my values? I
Right.
wasn't. So, I needed to reevaluate. And then, in terms of strengths and skills, I am a big believer in taking like a lot of strength assessment tests to help you figure out what your God given talents and gifts are. For
Mm-hmm.
me, is communication. A lot of people have fear of public speaking.
Yeah.
You give me a presentation, I'm going to sit in front of a, or stand in front of a room and, just present. I
Wow.
was born with that ability. So that's how I also use that in my entrepreneurial journey now as the host of my own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's switch to Elevate. Elevate for me, and you and I talked about this briefly, it's mindset, elevating your thoughts, your beliefs, your
Yes.
actions. So I start by asking people like, step one, start unpacking the bullshit stories that you tell yourself.
Yes. Yo. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And as a woman of color, the first one that comes to mind is this whole I'm not worthy enough. I'm
Mm.
not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of earning six figures. I'm not worthy of, getting that job that I want. And I want to say, sis, stop it. You are worthy because you exist.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to believe that deep down. And I know that society does not help, right? Because a lot
Right.
of times, we're seeing all these women who are thinner and have better hair and who are lighter skin being showcased all throughout media. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, then if you don't like what you're seeing, then you need to figure out how you can have your own platform to
Right.
start elevating the people that you want to see, start
Yeah.
elevating those voices that you want to hear.
Yes. Definitely. That is awesome. I love that.
So thank you. So it's like unpacking the bullshit, that plays in our head and also shifting those disempowering beliefs
Mm.
into a more empowered state of mind.
Yes. Because it's like, it's so unfortunate that we beat ourselves up so bad and
Mhm.
hinder our growth and development and everything because in our heads we're not worthy, we can't do it, oh I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough, and it just totally just it's terrible that we hinder ourselves like that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that can use you. You know, like, hold on, let me not say use. There's so many people that need what you have and need what you have to give, but they can't get it because you're hindering yourself. And if people will just believe in themselves, take that step, and be who they are, the world is your oyster. Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
And that word that you said, like belief, that
Mm-hmm.
believe in yourself, like my whole method is centered around that. Like if you know who you are at the core and you know what you bring to the table in terms of value and strengths and skills, then there's no stopping you.
Right. Exactly. No one can stop you.
No.
No, I think people, because I know I used to do this when I first started. You get on Instagram and Facebook and you look at everybody else and see what everybody else is doing and how many followers they have and the engagement. You're like, oh, I want to do that. And then after a few weeks, it's like, oh, I'm still not there.
Yeah. Oh,
And I think people don't realize that that person that they're looking at, you don't know that they started 4 or 5 years ago and they just started
absolutely.
popping. Like you don't see all of that.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm guilty of that too, like that
Mhm.
comparison trap. That's why a lot of times I try to stay away from social media because for me it's like it's not healthy to be on there scrolling endlessly day in and day out.
It's
A-
not.
And to your point, I tend to compare myself with like the Marie Forleos and Tony Robbins
Oh
and
my gosh.
Brendan Burchard. And I'm like, Martha, these people have been doing that shit for over 20 years. Give
Yes.
yourself some grace.
Yes. Because I love Forleo. That's how I started saying, okay, I want to do, because
Yeah.
I've done business courses, but now I have this huge, like, this, I think it's a 7-week course, and I'm kind of modeling it from
Hmm.
Marie. And but looking at her, I'm like, oh, I want to be her. I want my course to be like hers. I want, yeah. But like you said, Marie's been doing this for a long time. She just
Yes.
didn't start doing this, a year ago. So
Yes.
I think that's what we tend to not look at and
Yeah.
recognize that they worked really hard. And that, like you said, that whole comparison trap, it is definitely a trap, and it will make you quit. It
Yeah.
will definitely make you quit.
But you know why that is? Also because we come from a society and maybe even culture of that quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have that yesterday. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, everything takes time. It's like, let's take the word cultivate, for instance, when you're, trying to grow. I have plants in my house, and I remember I bought one last year and it wasn't growing.
Mm-hmm.
And my boyfriend said to me, the same way you planted that seed and you're cultivating it with water and soil and food, it's going to take time to grow into what you want it to see. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
same way in your business. You have to cultivate it. You have to, you know, plant those seeds and start creating opportunities for yourself. And then before you know it, you're going to watch it grow.
Right. And that's the whole span that people want to speed up and press fast forward and
Yes.
skip the cultivate stage, skip the empowerment stage, skip
Yep.
all that, and just go straight to that end goal.
And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, especially for people of color. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of communities that I'm in for entrepreneurs is a bunch of white people. That's why I'm like, we need to see more women of color come together and have these
Yeah.
communities and these, podcasts and start elevating these other women that I'm sure have a lot more to offer than these white people that are all saying the same thing.
That, I will have to agree with you on that. I think that is a whole nother subject that we could speak on, especially when it comes to Black women, Latina women, and how we don't work as a team.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't come together as much as we should. I think
yeah,
if we could learn how to really work together and stop the comparison and stop the, oh, she's better than me, I don't want to talk to her, all that kind of crazy mess. If we could stop that, oh, there's so many mountains we could move.
yeah.
But I don't know. We just don't do that. It's the weirdest thing.
But that's why you and I are on this journey, right? Like, I'm sure through your business and your
Hmm.
podcast, you're trying to shift that
Definitely.
perception.
Yes, definitely trying to shift it. I know I'm in some business like Facebook groups, and some of them are more geared to Black women, women of color. Some are mixed. You know, everybody. You know, there's a little bit of everybody in it. But I am glad to see some of those business groups with women of color in it, and they end up. I think what I'm in is like 20,000. I'm like, yeah, it's 20,000 women in this group, and they're very active. And it's like, whoa, we need to get together and do something. All
Yeah.
20,000 of us, do you know what we could do together?
Oh,
It will be amazing. We could do a whole convention every year or something, you know? But yeah, if we could get together more on that level, that would be great. Like I said, I think we need to make a whole other podcast show
yes.
just on that. Whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we should definitely. So let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about what you are working on right now because you're working on, you got a lot going on. What are some upcoming projects that you're working on right now?
So I do want to touch on that. The only thing is that I want to be able to give your audience the O to
Oh
the
yes,
CEO method,
CEO. I left the O out. Yes, what is the O?
which is all and it's all about owning it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's owning your story, owning your voice, owning your vision, owning your strength, your skills, like just packaging all that together and really start creating what I say like CEO habits that are going to help you to stay motivated and moving forward. So what are you listening to? What are you watching? Like, how are you feeding your heart, mind, and soul? So it's creating those CEO habits like journaling, meditating, listening to your small business podcast, for instance, that are going to help you grow. It's also act like the CEO. So if you have a vision for yourself and you start creating all of these habits, start acting like it. Start acting like the CEO of your life, your career, your business, and start taking actions for an empowered state of mind.
Yes.
So you may not be the top CEO earning seven figures, let's say, but start acting like it because
Mhm.
somehow the universe, God, whatever you choose to believe in, it's going to help you to get there, to start co-creating that path for you. And then lastly, I say start making your CEO moves.
Yes.
So now you've cultivated your identity, you've elevated your mindset, you're constantly creating and doing these CEO habits. Now start making moves from that standpoint.
Hmm. You're definitely
And
right.
that's how you cultivate, elevate, and own the life and vision and career that you see for yourself.
That's awesome. It's like you just basically just broke it all down and told and said this is how you do it. And that is how you do it. I love that. Own. Because you're right. If you know that you want to be this entrepreneur, this badass woman, and you got it going on, and you got this business and that business, that business, you have to own it. You
Yeah.
have to. I know a lot of people, they're a good talker. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And that's what
Mm,
that own, that's what I'm getting from your own. When you own it, you are walking the walk too. You're not just saying, oh, I get up at 5 in the morning and start my day and, get on my computer and work on whatever. You're actually doing it. Because I know there's a
yeah.
lot of people that act like they do that. But
No, and also it's like owning the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like
Mhm,
own the good moments, own the ugly cry. Like I mentioned earlier, I was having a couple of days ago, I was having a moment. I own that. But
mhm.
then I need you to shift quickly out of that mindset or mood that you're in and start owning what you can control.
Yes, definitely.
So,
Yes. And I think a lot of people too, when you said that about how you were having that moment, a lot of people they don't show those moments because when you get on social media, it all just looks happy and peachy.
pretty.
And I get up every morning and look like this, like I woke up like this, and I'm making all this
Champion.
money. And look at all of these receipts and all of these sales, but you don't know that once they turn that computer off. they're in the bathroom crying because they're not happy with themselves or whatever the case may be. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, everybody just sees that part of it and not
Yeah.
realizing that they're putting in that work. It's not all cherries and strawberry ice cream over there. They're staying up late, they haven't slept. Yeah, they're on Instagram, but they've only been up, they only slept 2 hours. They
Yeah.
don't know that. And I think if more people started owning it and showing it, it would really help the whole entrepreneur journey for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say, listen, I tell my goddaughter all the time, she's only 21 years old. I'm like, social media is a highlight reel. People
Yeah.
just put out what they want you to see. But
Mm-hmm.
necessarily that's not what's happening behind closed doors. So
Yeah.
stop comparing yourself to these people because you don't know what's going on in their life.
Yeah, you don't see it. And like you were saying too about owning it, you have to, like I said, you have to walk the walk. You can't
Yeah,
just talk the talk. You really have to put that work in, make those lives, make those posts show up for your business, and your customers and clients. Like, you have to do that. And a lot of people
yeah,
don't want to put the work in at all.
no,
They just want that instant gratification. But
yeah,
you have to own it. That
yeah.
is owning it.
Everything, your voice, your story.
Yes.
Like a lot of people are like, oh, when you actually say that you got let go. I said yes, because that is part of my story, and that was part of the push that put me where I am today. So yes, I am going to own that.
Yeah, own it. I own I always owned that when I first started doing entrepreneurship. Like, I was a realtor for a while.
Hmm.
But then I was exhausted when I was doing that because I was doing nursing too. But so then I started, yeah, then I started kind of gravitating towards more entrepreneur. Well, it's still entrepreneurship, but I started doing like Avon, different things like that. And I
Hmm.
couldn't even get my family to buy from me. Like, I was selling stuff. And then I had like a hair boutique, got a whole bunch of people to buy from me, but the people actually knew they wouldn't buy from me, and I
Yeah.
own it. It's like, yeah, I couldn't get my own mama to buy hair from me. Yeah, that's true. I don't know why, but then I don't know. It's just the
Yeah.
business kept flourishing. I ended up selling it, and then I decided I think I want to teach people how to do this and have businesses
Mm,
and be entrepreneurship, because now I've done it. Oh yeah, okay. I think I'm a shift and do this, but you gotta own your. And I think that's what makes your story beautiful and you stand out when you own it and you just say, "This is what happened. I was let go, and now this is where I am." It makes you more relatable to
yeah, and real as
really.
fuck. Like, I know a lot of people who've been let go, but they keep saying that they decided to leave their job. And I'm like, you know what? If that makes you feel better at the end of the day,
Mhm.
kudos to you.
Yeah, yeah. But I think when you own your story, more people, I think you get more business that way. You get more clients, more people, you get more fans. People love you because you're being you, you're being
Yes.
truthful, you're being transparent. And that really is a huge difference from being a true entrepreneur and just playing around. You got some
Yeah.
people just playing around, but then you got a true entrepreneur. They know who they are and they're transparent. And that's exactly who you are.
And it's also peace of mind, right? Like, why would I want to sit here and tell you or your audience, no, I decided to leave my corporate job. Somehow that's going to come out that
Yeah.
that's not true.
Yeah.
So why not own it like now instead of waiting for someone to say, "Oh, I listened to your podcast, Janice, and you had this girl Martha Ramos." And let me tell you, she
Yeah.
was let go.
Yeah.
When she said she walked out of her career, no, she was lying to you. She was let go. So I'm like, why do that?
Yeah. Because, hey, when you got people on the internet, they find out everything. Like, especially like Twitter. Lord, let Twitter
Listen,
find out there's somebody lying about something. They gonna out you on Twitter. Like, the internet, yeah, just be yourself and tell the truth. It's gonna
yes,
come out. And that's nothing
and
to be ashamed of. Nothing.
no, and
Mm-mm.
it takes more courage
It does.
to own that than
Yes.
to sit there and lie and be like, whatever excuses you're giving for yourself. So,
Yes. And I think, I'm just dipping in this real quick. I always get questions about, how can I make myself stand out? Because there's so many business coaches and so many podcasts, so many this and so many that. And the one thing I've always told people is just being yourself makes
Yeah,
you stand out. It's so many people, like you said earlier, saying the same thing, telling you the same thing, but and they're not sharing who they are and their experiences. But once you start owning who you are and sharing your story, that is what makes you stand out. When you share your true story, because believe it, there is somebody that there are people that will be touched by your story, and they will
yeah,
be your loyal fans for life
yeah.
just because you share that. That makes you
A
stand out.
100%. It's
Mm-hmm.
like there's over 7 billion people in this world, and so many people are doing the same thing, but not
Mm-hmm.
everyone is you. So,
Right.
what is it that you bring to the table? What's unique to your journey, your story that's going to give you that edge?
Right, right. My when you said that, and my head said, "What's your unique selling proposition?"
Yeah. Yes,
That's what
your
it is. What
UVP. Yes.
unique selling proposition? What makes
Yeah.
you unique? But really, that is like when you are growing, you are building your business. That is one of the questions that you need to ask yourself. What is your unique selling position? What
Yeah.
makes you so unique and so different that somebody will buy your services and products over somebody else? And that is
Yeah.
one of the main things. Just owning your story and telling it and being real. People love
Yeah.
real.
100%. And
Yes.
I don't like to have conversations or be around people that I know that I can sense are not keeping it real, because I'm like, I ain't got time for the bullshit.
Exactly. And you can, and you know how it is. And I tell people all the time, if you don't be yourself, people can sniff that out quickly.
Mm-hmm.
People can tell that you're not comfortable on camera or you're acting like someone else, or your mannerisms are even different. Because some
Yeah,
people look
yeah.
at somebody and say, "Oh, I think I'm gonna do my lives like her." But then
Mm-hmm.
you do that and people can tell they don't look right. You're not being yourself. People can sniff that out quickly
Yes.
and then tell you about it to your face.
Listen, 100%. And as you were saying that, I'm like, it's with me and reels. Like, I've
Oh,
seen a couple of entrepreneurs, and I get it, the algorithm, whatever. But I'm like, I've seen a couple of entrepreneurs do these reels of them dancing and acting a fool. And I'm like, first of all, you don't even look cute doing it.
right.
Second, I get it that you're trying to stay within the algorithm, but
Mhm.
if it doesn't feel right to you, if it's not authentic, and you're just trying to get it, to beat the algorithm and have more followers and more engagement, because at the end of the day you want that sale, that
Mhm.
doesn't feel authentic to me. That's why I
It
don't do them.
doesn't. I do not like that. It drives me nuts
Yeah.
sometimes. It's like I think I made one dancing thing, but I was kind of celebrating. I think I had like a lot of downloads a week or two, and my ratings was going up. And I said I'm gonna do a dance. But as far as actually doing them consistently and sharing business tips and dancing, like
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah. This
That's just
whole
not me.
pointing,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like, what
yeah.
is that?
Yeah, I might just sit at a desk and do that and do the whole pointing thing. I haven't done it very often, but and then those dances they do on TikTok, those the kids they're like barely moving and I cannot.
Hmm.
It just drives me nuts. I'm like, you're not even dancing, you're just moving your arms.
Yeah.
It just drives me nuts.
And they have a million followers. I'm like,
They do.
what is this world coming to?
They do. They do. And the thing is, though, if that's not your cup of tea, just don't do it. You don't have
Yeah.
to do that to keep up with the algorithm and do what everyone else is doing. Just be yourself. That's
Yeah.
it. And then the people who really want your services and really are feeling you, they will come to you.
Yep.
Yep.
Your tribe will find you.
That's right. No matter if you're dancing like a fool on TikTok or not, they will, they will definitely find you. And speaking of like social media, this just popped in my head. I know this is not the questions that I was asking, but I've seen a few videos where people are talking about, how with the whole TikTok and dancing thing and going viral. And now I see a little bit of a shift where people are saying, like, do you really want to go viral? Because when you go viral, you're going to get I mean, it's great. Okay, you got 2 million views, but most of those people don't know you, don't know what you're selling. They just know there's this one video, she's doing a dance, they think it's cute, they follow you, but they're not actually your target market, you know?
Yeah.
And they're saying, like, it might hurt your algorithm because they are not going to like your stuff, they're not going to comment on it, they're not going to share your stuff because they're not your target market anyway. They just like this one video that just happened to be, there's a popular song and they liked the song and liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, so now it's like a little shift going, like, do you really want to go viral? And I'm like, I don't know. Once you say that, maybe not. No, no,
Because think about it, that makes sense to me. Because
it
let's say
does.
if you do go viral with a bunch of people who are not your target audience, will they really re-engage on your next piece of content? And the
Mhm.
answer is most likely no.
Right.
So why even go there?
Yeah, it's like, I think the main takeaway is don't focus on trying to go viral.
Yeah.
Just focus on giving that value, being true to your business and who you are, giving your customers and clients what they want, and don't even worry about trying to go viral.
Yeah.
Makes
Just worry about you, right? Like worry about what you can control and what you're meant to put out into the world. And
sense.
like you said, your people will come. They
Yeah,
will find you.
they will find you. Yes, they will. So let's talk about your podcast, the Audacious. Should I say A fuck or ass fuck?
Listen, I'll
I
say
know.
it for you. It's called the Audacious As Fuck podcast.
Yes, that name, just like that title, I was like, I love that title. That is awesome. Now that's like a showstopper. That will grab your attention. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm just yeah, just tell us about the podcast. What is your niche of your podcast and your guests, and just tell us all about that.
So it's interesting because I think I mentioned before that I love to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 2 years ago, I had a friend of mine who said, "Why don't you just start a podcast?" And I'm like, for what? Like to add another thing to the business. I just don't have the time. But slowly but surely, it started making sense to me, especially because in 2020, I
Mm-hmm.
had done a virtual summit called the Be the CEO Summit, where I interviewed 23 different women CEOs from around the world,
Wow.
and they were sharing their stories and their business and their transition, like what took them, because a lot of them went from corporate to starting their own business as an entrepreneur. And I just found that so fascinating that I got to connect with so many amazing women from around the world. Like I literally had people from New Zealand, from
Oh,
Canada, from the Bahamas, right here in the US. And I'm like, wouldn't it be great if I can continue that momentum on the podcast?
yes. Yes.
And then that's what made me decide to, start the podcast. And then the title is because I've always been audacious as fuck. And when I asked my girlfriend and I shared the title with them, they were like, "Oh, honey, that is all you. That is all you." And I quick little tidbits as to why I
Mhm.
led to that. I remember being, I think, 11 years old, and my mother kept sending me to like iron my father's clothes. And I couldn't understand, like, all right, you have me here learning how to cook, how to clean, how to do. And then I'm like, I remember saying to her, why do I need to iron his clothes? You're the one sleeping with him.
What?
And girl, and she slapped
Whoa.
the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I'm But it's because I was thinking that and it just
Yeah.
came out my mouth. And my parents have always said to me that I say, like, I don't have hair on my tongue. There's a saying in Spanish, tú no tienes pelo en la lengua. And it's because I say what I am thinking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I say what a lot of people want to say, but they don't have the
Wow.
audacity to say it.
Wow.
So that was like, that memory took me back then. And then at 17, when my parents were both, not being able to work and take care of our family here in the US, they decided to move the entire family back to Dominican Republic
Mhm.
because there they had a business, they had a house. And at age 17, I became emancipated, and I
Wow.
was a senior in high school working 2 or 3 jobs after school because I needed to pay for a room that I rented, put food on the table, clothes on my back, and
Wow.
education was my fourth priority.
Wow.
And I had the audacity to become emancipated at that age because I had that long term vision of how I wanted to live my life, what type of car I wanted to drive, what type of neighborhood I wanted to live. I wanted to travel. And I knew that if I had gone back to a third world country, which,
Mhm.
I'm very proud to say I am Dominican, but let's be honest, it's a third world country. I knew that I wasn't going to get the education that I needed to become the person I had envisioned myself to be.
Wow.
So it's part of who I am. It's having that audacity to say, you know what? I want that. I'm gonna go after it. I may not have all the answers right now, but I'm gonna figure it out.
My mind is completely blown. I was like, whoa, from telling your mom what you said. I was thinking, oh my, that would have happened on Tuesday, and I would have woke up on Thursday because my mom would have knocked me out. Okay,
Listen,
from that, and then being emancipated at 17 and doing, I just couldn't imagine like that. Wow,
it
wow,
was
that's
it was tough.
amazing.
Janice, it's been a tough journey and a lot of challenges thrown at me. That's why when I lost my job, like I'm like, girl, at 17, you were paying bills, you were being an adult. So losing your job now, like you're gonna figure it out.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
So
Wow, that is amazing.
so
Yeah, your podcast is awesome.
aw,
It is.
thank you. So is yours. I mean, I
Thank you.
listened to some of your episodes, but yeah, for me it was important to elevate those voices of women that I get to meet on this journey.
Mm,
And I'm hoping you're going to come on and be a part of that trajectory as well. And it's like, you know what? This is a platform where you get to connect and have these candid conversations with these amazing women from around the world that I'm sure their stories are going to make an impact in somebody else's life. And also, we are all reimagining what's possible and reimagining what the work life balance can look like for
yeah,
us. And
definitely.
that was important.
Yes, because we are changing that day by
Yeah.
day. We are showing everyone, hey, we can do it all. We can run our own businesses and our households and look good doing
Yes, hello.
it. Yes, we can do it all. That is how God has made us.
Yes.
Now we need these men to catch up.
Let's not even go there because I love mine to death, but it's like,
I,
boy,
I love mine too. I love mine too. I'm gonna say like my husband says, you need to catch up, mustard. I'm like, that's what y'all need to do. Catch up, mustard.
I love that.
So how can our listeners connect with you on social media?
Well, listen, I am not a big fan, but I do hang out most of the time on Instagram.
Okay.
And, of course, listening, to the podcast, like go on there. I mean, there I really get to show my true colors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and really share what's on my mind and like I said, interview all these other amazing women. So yeah, either listen to the podcast or connect with me on Instagram at Ramos official.
All right, that's great. And of course, I believe those links in the show notes where people can just take one click and connect with you right there. This has been an awesome, awesome podcast, awesome show, and I definitely have to have you back on because we can talk about so many things.
Listen, and I
Mm.
love the title of yours because I'm like, your small business podcast. This is exactly the future of the workforce, is getting all these women to start
Mhm.
their own small business.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, I
thank
thought
you
it was
for that.
pretty simple. Thank you. I was like, I need a simple title. I just need a title where people, as soon as they see it, they know what it's about. So I just
Yes.
said, well, you can't get no simpler than your small business podcast. Can't get no simpler than that. Well, we definitely will see you again. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right.